Hello, everybody. Welcome into Honest Game Perspective. This is the Honest Roundup, the show at the end of the week where we talk about all the things I wanted to talk about throughout the week that I feel like I couldn't quite make into a full length video. So we put them all together, we mash it up, we kind of go off script where I just have bulletin points, and we talk about some of the stuff that happened throughout the week in the world of gaming. And this week was a pretty big week. Let's start with the obvious shadow drop of Oblivion Remastered. Now, is an Elder Scrolls game that is, I guess, either beloved or behated by a lot of the fans out there. But it was shadow dropped with us. Not only was it released the same day they announced it, but it was also released on Xbox Game Pass, which is something we could talk about in of its own because Xbox Game Pass is really just towering over any other subscription based service right now, especially with their 1 day release or their day one release rather. Anyway, I played Oblivion for a little while. I think I have like 7 or 8 hours into it already. I was a big Skyrim fan. I really liked, really Bethesda is kind of the company that I am just biased against. I really like everything they do. I even sort of kind of enjoyed Starfield. But Oblivion Remastered is a fun game and it looks great. I mean, it's remastered. It's got better graphics. It's got everything visual is modern. But it just I don't know. Something about it just kind of feels old. And I know it's an old game and it's a remastered, but it really does kinda take a while to get into it for me when I do play it. I have to at least give an hour of like, "All right, let me get through all these loading screens. Let me get through all this sorting of loot. Let me figure out, oh, yeah, what am I doing?" A couple of, things I really don't like about the game, but it is fun to play a game that is such an open world RPG like this. It's been a while since I've played a game like that, and it feels nice to kind of saddle back up. What this does do for me is it makes me want to play more games like this rather than this one exact. But right after Oblivion Remastered was released, the PlayStation was like, hold on, do you think this is your week? No. Ghost of Yotei, we're given the announcement, we're given the release date in the same week. It was kind of funny. So we do have a date. Ghost of Yotei is being released on October 2nd of this year. There was also an extra trailer released with it, and that showed some gameplay without the HUD. I thought this is what I was going to make a video on, but it just wasn't enough to. I would have just been me yapping about interviews and stuff. So I don't think that was really good enough. So I wanted to mention it here that Ghost of Yotei is set to be released on October 2nd, which is good for that because that'll kind of be the last type of game before we get to the end of the year, where I think like December and November are where all these mega hits come out. You know, that holiday, that Black Friday, that rush, that those are when the big games come out. We're all just waiting for Grand Theft Auto to come out at this point, so we're all kind of hesitant to be like, "Oh, best game of the year," because Grand Theft Auto is probably going to clean house. And we have yet another release this week that we are excited about. I actually made a video on this Days Gone earlier this week. So if you want to watch more about that, go watch that video. However, upon quickly watching reviews and releases, everybody kind of seems to say the same thing where it's a good game. It's a fun game. It's an enjoyable game. I don't know if people really want to spend the $50 for a remaster of a game that they really weren't anticipating. I don't think many people were like, oh, I need to get that. What is interesting about it though is that a lot of people who have played the game on PlayStation, not so much PC, but on PlayStation, they have said that like this is their favorite game. I did play about an hour and a half of the original one before this came out, just because I wanted to get a grasp of what it felt like before the remaster comes out. And it really gives that early PlayStation 5 era game, or maybe even more like The Last of Us remastered or remake or whatever they do, or like the remakes of Resident Evil. There's such that feeling into it. So if you enjoy those games, I definitely would say give this a try. And for those of you who maybe don't know, if you did have the original Days Gone, it's only a $10 upgrade to go from the original to the remaster. I don't think a lot of games do that. I don't think Last of Us did that. I'm drawing a blank on any other remasters, but I mean Oblivion. I guess that's kind of the same. I mean Oblivion's different. It's 20 years old, whereas Days Gone is only 4 years old, but still. So that was kind of interesting that they did that, and I think it was cool. Last but not least, Expedition 33 was also dropped on Game Pass this week, and this is without a doubt my front runner for Game of the Year now. Up until now, it had been Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which came out in I think it was February, right when that came out. So I had about 2.5 months, almost 3 months of okay, this is my Game of the Year. But Expedition 33 is a masterpiece of a game. It is insanely fun. It is insanely addicting. I really buy into the story. I buy into the concept. I buy into everything about this game. It's really, really cool. It's a fantasy setting game, but what's interesting about this is it's turn based combat, but you also have the ability to dodge and parry while the enemy is attacking. I don't know if that's ever been done before. At least I haven't known of games. I'm someone who hates turn-based combat, so the fact that this is front-running game of the year for me right now should really go to say how strong everything in this game is. So, also, it is on Game Pass. So, if you don't want to spend the money on Oblivion and Expedition 33 and Days Gone, if you're looking to just kind of where you should spend your money, get Game Pass and play both of these incredible games. And those are really all the things I wanted to talk about this week that I couldn't quite fit into a full length video. But I also wanted to end this show with something kind of fun, where I want us to talk about what games we're playing in the comments, whether it's a modern game or an old game, a game that you don't think many people play or talk about. Let's talk about this in the comments. For me, I've been playing a lot of Expedition 33. I've also been getting really big into Arma this week, which is surprising because I've never really liked those type of games. But I'm just kind of enjoying my gaming vibe right now. I really feel like I have a good set of separate games, different genres that I get to play from time to time. So let me know in the comments what games you're playing. What have you enjoyed this week? Is there anything that I maybe forgot to mention that was big news this week? But I'd love to hear more about what you guys are playing down in the comments below.